What a
So
special
today
green room. It's our 60th green room. And what a special guest
we have an
today.
amazing guest. I'll let you, because you're personal.
Well, listen, I mean, what could be better than having
Nikki?
Nikki Fried herself with us this morning? And Nikki, thank you so much for fitting us in. I know you just had your Facebook Live. And listen, I'm not going to take over for you. What is going on? What are you up to? And then, of course, we'll get into talking a little bit of cannabis. But I know you're really active,
we have huge
keeping us safe
issues.
on the COVID
Please
side right now. Give us our updates.
Give us an update.
Yeah, and that's what we've been doing, for the last week and a half is coming out and doing press conferences every day, giving people the information about what's going on. We know knowledge is power. And unfortunately right now, our governor is not having daily press conferences, isn't updating our people of our state of where we are on hospitalizations, where we are on as far as cases are concerned, and instead is blaming, blaming our school boards for wanting to protect our kids, blaming yesterday was immigration community. And I'm sorry, I talk to doctors and I talk to hospitals all the time. That's not who's in there. And let's also be really, really understanding of, because I talk to the immigration community all the time. One of their biggest issues is the fact that they don't have access to the healthcare system because they are undocumented, and especially the people that would be coming from the border are undocumented. They're not going into the doctor's offices, not going into the hospitals. So he's making up again this fictitious thing, and all he's doing is dividing us when he should be taking the mantle, coming out every single day saying, listen, this is bad. Please go get vaccinated. Please wear a mask. How hard is that? I just don't understand. So, we have been very, I'm not calling for mandates. I'm asking our local governments, our school boards to do what's right for their communities, give information to the people, let them talk to their doctors, do what's right, and really trying to encourage everybody to get the vaccine. We know that is the key to getting in front of this. And then I understand that some people that are vaccinated are getting sick. That's because not enough people are getting vaccinated. And so it's breaking through. But if more people were vaccinated, and this, Dr. Gordon, then we wouldn't be having these breakthrough cases either. So people, and I keep going back to the 10 commandments, love thy neighbor. I mean, that's something that's fundamental, that you're not going to do it for yourself. You're not going to do it for your own personal family. We live in a society that operates collectively. And so we all have to play our part in society. Go get vaccinated. This is
a virus. Viruses mutate. And I think that's really been one of the things that's really been lost in all the, mumbo jumbo. And listen, to bring the immigration debate into this is just so ridiculous. Viruses, this is a novel virus. That's why it's always been speculative of what is the best course, right? But we have to follow the science. And I know you've always been one that is, spoken to that. And, and thank you so much for speaking up. We need leadership in this state. And I know priorities as they are, right?
So Nikki, can I ask you a quick question? So in the case, I'm reading more and more about different school boards across the state in different regions and counties. They're afraid because, Governor DeSantis went and issued this proclamation of, refusing funding for schools like Broward County. Yet these school boards and the teachers involved and the parents, it seems like they lost their voice because the majority of them want either to be, masked or have vaccines and things. How do you go about this now? Because I feel bad for the teachers that are involved and the school boards that are involved in this.
It's frustrating because throughout the course of the last week, the incoming that I'm getting from school board members, from teachers, from parents saying, we don't know what to do. We don't want to send our kids back, unmasked, especially the 12 and under who can't get the vaccine yet. And we're seeing more and more pediatric cases popping up all over the state and getting into ICUs. And so I just want people to understand what this governor is saying. That if a school board like Broward County or Dade or any of our other big counties put in a mask mandate for their kids, which is again in accordance with CDC, that's what the CDC is telling us what we're supposed to be doing, that he is going to withhold funding. And so I look at this, it's you're not hurting the school board members. You're hurting our kids. They're the ones who are need these resources to keep the lights on in their classrooms, and to be paying for, and the school nutrition program is separate, but paying for janitorial stuff, and paying for getting the, classrooms cleaned, and just the operations of a school. And so you're hurting the kids when you're making these statements. So what I've been telling school board members is stand up. There's enough of you out there who want to do right. So what is he going to do? Defund our entire public education? And then I posed a question, and that's just public education. What about private schools? And what about our charter schools? Are they under the same type of, dictatorial, mandates? Because at that point, now you're telling people, if you've got money and you can send your kids to a private school, you have a different standard than those in the public education system. And that is a wrong message. Again, we should all be in this together. This governor has taken the wrong messaging approach to this. This is simple. We're not asking for mandatory statewide anything. We're asking for our local school boards, our local counties to do right by their communities. They are the ones who stepped up during the pandemic the first time around, got us through this. They know what their communities need.
So we have a glitch. Hold on.
We're frozen on the other side.
Oh, sorry. I'm telling school board members and parents to go and write letters to the editors, right? Put things on social media and Facebook, and really just be outspoken. And I know I'm hearing it. And if I'm hearing it, I know that there is a lot of people out there that are very concerned and very worried.
And not to segue into the cannabis space, but it's so interesting how an executive order for that was so easily written by the governor, but not an executive order restoring telehealth, right? For our recertification patients, right? Who now are very afraid, quite frankly, once again, many of them of coming into a medical office. We've had to reinstate masking in the office, of course.
In the last like 3 days, we actually had, I want to not miscount, but I think we had 6 patients who have COVID who are calling because they can't come in. They literally do have COVID. And so it's
and the healthcare facilities are overwhelmed, Nikki. That's one of the things that really concerns me as a healthcare practitioner, is that we're hearing now is that the healthcare workers, they thought we were past this now. They thought that with the vaccinations that we weren't going to see a 4th wave. And listen, people are tired. And listen, segue back into what your vision is as we go forward towards legal adult use, right? Nationally in Florida. You and I have discussed it many times. Without job protections and licensure protections for our doctors, for our nurses, for our paramedics, they need to have access to what we consider, of course, to be a safe alternative to what's available in pharma out there. So I know that's why we're having you on today. Just discuss where you see us going, both, of course, in Florida specifically and nationally with legal adult use.
I'm optimistic about our state. If in fact we get a Democratic governor. I'm just point blank, this current governor has said no legalization under his watch. And so you're seeing even this legislature backpedal last couple of sessions with the THC caps and trying to make it more difficult. Even the Department of Health has put out new rules for you guys when it comes to dispensing flower and new restrictions and taking away from telehealth. And so it again is making this program more and more difficult. Instead of doing just the opposite, we should be expanding access, and we should be doing everything possible to make it better for patients, because we know it works. And so I'm hopeful with our state, because enough people are wanting adult use, are seeing what's happening across the entire country, that more and more states are taking up that mantle. We saw obviously, Senate Majority Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker's bill a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's a month ago, I've lost track of times, and so we are seeing that move. And even I just want to, for those of you who haven't read Clarence Thomason's his own Supreme Court opinion a couple of months ago at this point, Clarence is one of the most conservative members of the court, and he wrote this, and we don't like the outcome of that case, but what his dicta was saying was basically, federal government, you got one foot in, you got one foot out. It's time to just be done, and getting, rights to doctors, to patients, to people that are growing, and making sure we're protecting them. And look at, I know personally dealing with the banking industry, that we need to regulate that. Health insurance companies need to start covering this as copays and annual visits. Prohibition needs to end. And it needs to end at the state levels. It needs to end at the federal levels. Certainly at the federal side, it makes it easier when there is a consistent rule, regulations across the entire country. We don't need piecemealing, but right now when the Fed's not moving fast enough, we're seeing this piecemeal approach. But you're going to see more and more people on both sides out, because this has never been a democratic issue. This is something that crosses party lines, because everybody understands, the benefits, most people, the benefits of medicinal cannabis, as well as the benefits of adult use for our economy, for the reduction of our criminal justice system, social justice reform, healthcare reduction costs. It really is just such a win-win. And the more we talk about this, and the more we put this into mainstream, the more people are going to wake up and realize prohibition needs to end. This is way past time.
Absolutely. Nikki, we get consistently in our office questions. The number one question we get is concealed weapons and carry, because obviously in Florida, the guns are allowed. It's allowed under our amendment. Where do you see that going, if anywhere? Because it is a barrier to entry to medical cannabis for some patients, and patients are getting frustrated with that and upset over that issue.
Yeah, so, and I try to make it very clear kind of the distinctions between the two. So I have been very open and honest. I have both. I have my concealed weapons permit, and I've got my medical marijuana card. And as somebody who regulates the concealed weapons program, I, as an attorney, have sat down and I've talked with my general counsel. I've looked at the statutes myself. There is no conflict between having a concealed weapons permit and your medical marijuana card. The concealed weapons program it's a creature of statute. And so there's not a constitutional right for anybody who wants to, say there's no constitutional right to carry a concealed permit, but it is a creature of statute. And there's nothing in the statute, one, that asks if you are taking any psychotropic medication. None of that stuff applies. There are most of the disqualifiers are if as background checks and things of that nature. And the same thing, we don't ask if you have a medical marijuana card, and the Department of Health doesn't ask if you have a concealed weapons permit. So I see no conflicts there. Here's where the issue comes into play. Buying a new gun. That is regulated by the federal government. That is by ATF underneath Department of Justice, where if you are buying a gun legally, which I certainly hope that people are doing. I've seen a lot of people saying, well, I just go to and buy it from my friend in private sales. Then you're skirting around the law, and really that doesn't help our society, follow the rules. But the ATF form does have, and I don't remember, it's like question 10C, something like that, that says specifically, if you are addicted or under the influence of a controlled substance, you are disqualified. And they have added an asterisk in there that says, even if your state has some type of legal or medical program, it is still federally illegal, and you must answer yes to this question. I have a fundamental problem with that. Because I'm having to choose between my constitutional rights. I have a constitutional right, obviously, to the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution to bear arms, but yet I also have a constitutional right in the state of Florida for medical marijuana. And so, looking at those two, there's a conflict, and so be on the lookout for me to actually take this mantle up on the federal side, because this is a problem, and we need to be protecting both of our constitutional rights, and allow people, and especially when I talk to so many of our veterans, our veterans who served in our military, were willing to risk their lives for our country, who had access to machine guns and to tanks, and potentially come back and get onto the medical cannabis registry. And whether it's for other types of underlying conditions or PTSD, and now can't buy a gun. And I just think that is just wrong on its face, and something that we all need to, as a community, and not just the cannabis community, but the gun rights communities, to finally say, enough is enough. We got to fix this.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way of crossing, over, into a bipartisan type of, vision of things too, because, listen, Nikki, I mean, to me, unfortunately, I think cannabis is not viewed in the green manner that it should be yet here in Florida. I think it's still, and you're right, we need a Democratic governor to make the changes that we need. Because as we go towards legal adult use, it can be done right or wrong. Same thing with medical. We need our job protections. We need in-hospital nursing home use. We need state reciprocity issues to be solved. I mean, you know the list of issues. And that's why I'm so supportive of this being done right, with the right discussion and the right communication. And so thankful that you're engaged in that, you know, and have proudly held up your medical cannabis card. And you know the benefits of the plant.
You know what's interesting? You just said you don't think, Florida it's not viewing it as a green issue. But interestingly enough, the voters of Florida, the voters do. And the voters, I think, whether it's this or it's the mask mandate or the vaccines, I think overall, these are nonpartisan issues. And I think the moms that want their kids protected want masks. It's not going to be an issue of red or blue. These moms want to take care of these children, just as with the gun permitting and the concealed carry. We have as many people wearing red hats as blue hats when they come into the practice seeking it. So it's a nonpartisan. I think it's a nonpartisan issue when it comes down to the individual. I think the legislators and the governor are dictating a lot, unfortunately, but not the will of the people. I think the will of the people needs to be much more in the
certainly a
forefront.
home grow option, Nikki, which I know is, debatable. I mean, that's never going to happen in Florida without leadership, from the top.
Mhm.
And when it comes to home grow, like, what's the issue? Why, like, you can grow your tomatoes, you can grow, if we're looking at this as an ag commodity, and of course we don't want people to be growing in their backyard and selling it, and because then and again that goes around our rules and regulations. Even on the ag side of things, people have to be permitted to even grow fresh fruits and vegetables and sell it to the public, depending on how much that they're actually the cottage industry. And so, but home grow, especially if you're utilizing for personal use, oh my God, get over it, and especially if it's the big guys out there, the MTCs or the license holders across the country that are scared of it. My God, growing weed at home is not easy. I haven't done it, but it's not easy, and so most of the time people are going to think it's a cool concept, go out and think that they're going to do it at home. And after a while, be like, this is really difficult. I'd rather go down the street to my dispensary. And so they try it and then they go. And for those who finds passion and success, then fine. But that's so far and few between. Like, why are we fighting about home grow? It doesn't make any sense.
And from the financial side, for some people, that is the best financial access for them, by being passionate, being gardeners, but listen, we're so appreciative, Nikki, of your time. We don't want to take up too much more of it. Let's let you wrap up.
Yeah, give us where you're going to be. I know you're fighting the good fight for all of us right now.
And running for governor has just got to be in every day, every moment, and especially, given what's going on in the Department of Ag and the whole bit right now. So you got tons on your plate. Tell us, where you're going from here.
But I love it, because I love public service. And when I got elected, I don't just serve the people that voted for me. I serve the 22 million Floridians. And so every single day I get up and I get more and more inspired by the people of our state. And when I hear, again, I'm somebody who is, I respond to my own social media inquiries, and I'm constantly on my phone and trying to be, grounded and stay in touch with my constituents. And when I hear stories of either hope or desperation, that's what makes me inspired to wake up every day. We have a very large state, very diverse state. We have lots of states within one. And so I spent a lot of time on the road, and which is going to be difficult if we don't get this virus under control again, to be out there and talking to people. And it's just, it's amazing on the course of a day how much a statewide elected, and especially candidate for governor, talks about, and the amount of hats. Doing my job as commissioner of agriculture is my first and foremost priority, and making sure we've been on a water tour this whole week, starting actually in some of your neighborhood.
Yeah. another entire show.
Yeah, that's a-
Right. You know, I was down in Sanibel and Captiva to Sarasota to Tampa to Fort Myers to Martin County yesterday, talking about our new water initiative, clean water initiative, working on what we can do to really clean up our waterways, to conceal carries. I mean, to just, you know, working with, I was on the phone with the USDA's new Secretary Vilsack, talking about ways to work together on different social justice issues, to clean and agriculture, to obviously running for governor and talking about all the things that are important to the people of our state, making sure that they've got food on their plates and they can afford their houses, and a better economy for everybody. So we're letting everybody rise up together. And, you know, and I think what's interesting, as I've been kind of working through and hearing a lot from our people, you know, I go to one, you know, fundamental thing of what really got me to run for office. And that is seeing a lot of the corruption and a lot of how the system in our state is designed to work against the people. I mean, look, I think there's no clearer example than the cannabis space. You know, that we've got an opportunity here to really empower people, empower our doctors and our locals and our entrepreneurs and our farmers, and yet we stand in the way of that. Why? And so we had an unemployment system that was designed to fail the people of our state. And so we got to break the system. The system's not working for the people. And, you know, and so I come into this with trying something new. We've had 25 straight years of Republican rule in our state, one party system, who's done everything possible to maintain their own power by keeping people down. And the cannabis industry just is such a huge example of, you know, and this is actually my announcement video from 2018, you know, that the overregulation of marijuana and the underregulation of guns. And that still is the same thing. We've got our priorities mixed up here, and we got to have somebody who has a new perspective of how to fix these things and how to finally, I mean, how many constitutional amendments can we pass as Floridians? And then it gets to Tallahassee and then gets completely dismantled. And so that's because the wrong people are being elected to Tallahassee. And unfortunately, we have a lot of great state representatives, but unfortunately, the way that even we do our primaries, that we are getting the extremes on both sides, when we know that a majority of the people are kind of in the center and they want people to govern in the center. But unfortunately, that's not what's happening. So we really need to be focusing on the majority of our state, and the voices on the left and the right on both sides that are really not allowing good pieces of legislation to pass and not working to the best interests of our state. So it's an exciting time for our state. Obviously, it's hard dealing with what's happening with COVID. I hope that everybody heeds the call, gets the vaccine, starts to wear a mask. We know how to beat this. Let's do this before new variants, as you said, Doctor, you know, starts to pop up across our state. I'm hearing that there's a new lambada that we're seeing down in South Florida that is supposedly more contagious even than Delta and more dangerous than Delta. So in order for us to stop these mutations and get in front of this, please go out, get vaccinated, wear your masks, be smart. We know how to get in front of this.
Thanks, Nikki. You know, yeah, it's lambda. We don't want to hear the next Greek letters come on after Delta, Lambda, Gamma. Believe me.
I'm going back to my sorority days. I was like, okay, what comes next?
For sure. Listen, stay safe and healthy. Thank you so much. And listen,
Absolutely.
You're welcome, of course, as you know, in the green room at any time. We'd love to have you back.
Thank you. It's good seeing you guys. Be safe.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Wow. So listen. So wow. When you have, you know, gubernatorial candidate and, you know, listen, the passion of Nikki Fried shows through. I think, you know, listen, politicians can fool you too. But to me, those that have true passion, I just think you see it. It comes out.
And the thing is, I think right now, I mean, she has a huge battle. One, she's the head of Department of Agriculture.
Right.
Two, she's trying to combat Governor DeSantis's stance on whether it's the schools and the vaccines and the hospitals. Did you see his press conference yesterday? Sarasota Memorial. Right. I mean, he called the largest hospital systems in, and I mean, there were hospitals that were point blank saying to Governor DeSantis yesterday that, look, if people were vaccinated, we wouldn't have this issue. They were saying this to him and he still wasn't listening. They were saying we're at capacity. Sarasota Memorial is at capacity.
And the healthcare workers are tired. They're tired. And a lot of them are leaving, you know. I mean, a lot of it's staffing. It's staffing issues in the nursing.
Because when I had COVID, I was there and I saw these doctors and these nurses, and they were exhausted.
Second wave.
And this is now, and the second
Fourth,
wave
now we're
is
fourth
actually,
wave.
but now it's even worse, they
Crazy.
said.
It
And
is.
it's
Younger people,
it's
sicker.
much younger. They
right.
said now, and actually yesterday, even with Governor DeSantis, they said all the hospitals were saying, we're seeing from 20-year-olds to 40-year-olds right now. That's a huge population. And they said 96% on average are the non-vaccinated people. What do they need to get a wake-up call? Do they need to die? Their spouse to die? Their sister to die? I mean, it gets to the point of enough is enough, and common sense has to prevail. You're seeing these numbers until you're affected. You know, then you see these posts and, you know, on
Just
Facebook,
random people.
oh, pray for me. Well, why didn't you get the vaccine? Your prayer should have been, you should have gotten the vaccine.
I have an
and then
old,
go pray.
I have an old professional
know,
bass
it's
fisherman guy,
crazy.
Fletcher Skyrock, who I just follow on Facebook. He got it. He thought he was okay, but now he's on oxygen and can't participate in his bass fishing tournaments. Young guy, he's in his 30s. So
I'm
that's
seeing deaths now on
so
Facebook
everybody,
for
please,
people.
please
It's
step
please
up. And
step
once again, I
up.
think Nikki made a good point for yourself and for others.
Your neighbor,
and
love
for
your neighbor.
others.
You know, it's so funny. And I, this is the green room and you don't want to get political, but for the people who are claiming to be very extremely religious, practice what you preach and practice your faith. Be kind to your neighbor. Do this as a protection for your neighbor's children, your neighbor's grandmother. You know, be consistent with what you're saying and really try to protect each other. You know, people wouldn't go out and purposely hurt one another. Why are they doing it now? It doesn't make sense. And it's been over politicized. This is not a political issue. This is a
I continue to
healthcare
be
crisis.
stunned by the politicalization of the vaccine and the mask.
It just should not.
So.
In our office, we're still practicing. We're in still code yellow right now, and we may change it. We're seeing patients if, you know, they have symptoms, or if there's somebody that's been in touch with somebody that has COVID, we're seeing them out in the parking lot.
We got to be extra
Governor
cautious.
DeSantis, bring back telehealth, please, because you're hurting our patients. We have patients who have COVID that need medicine that can't come in physically to our office. So we're lucky that we're doing it via a car outside, but are you really wanting to do this to your constituents?
Let's use the executive orders for the positive for
for
patients.
patients. Absolutely.
You know,
So, I mean, we're getting back into a critical time when we were having this declaration of, you know, emergency telehealth. Our numbers were actually even lower than they are now.
Yeah.
So this should bring that back. And, you know, everybody just please mask up if you're not feeling well, stay home, isolate yourself, get vaccinated, please get vaccinated.
It's almost time to ratchet it back at this point to where we were when we started. And if we can really buckle down for a couple, 3 weeks,
we should
we got,
back again.
And even to hear of a Lambda variant, listen, there's no joke to that.
There is
it's like hurricanes. Whoever wants to see Hurricane Zelda, okay?
Oh God, and we're already on Lambda, so where are we going after that? We have to go to the Greeks. We're
point
already
is,
through.
Right. So the point is, I mean, we don't want to hear any more Greek letters. So let's get this taken care of. And listen, thanks to Nikki for coming in.
Yes, thanks.
And listen, she is out there every day, just all over the place. I feel like we stole her from MSNBC and CNN today.
But the thing is, here she is fighting. I mean, she's fighting for concealed weapons. She's fighting for legalization of marijuana, for access for veterans. She's fighting for the parents who want their kids to be able to be masked up and not have funds taken out of school. She's fighting. And so, I mean, fight the good fight. Fight the good fight. And, you know, everybody just, you know, do your fair share. I think, you know, she was talking about, you know, wanting to give back and working for the people. And, you know, it's service. It is. And everybody should feel the same obligation to society that you should be in service to your fellow man. And you know, we do. We need to mask up. We need to get vaccinated, protect, you know, everybody please stay safe. I mean, it's a scary time.
It is. Listen, and I know plenty of people that are unvaccinated, and I just know, unfortunately, that a certain percentage of those people in the next 2 weeks will get COVID. It's just, this is, and that's one of the things about this Delta variant. it's more infectious than the original COVID. So it passes quicker and
much
easier. And
quicker.
who would have ever imagined that? So
No, and a lot of people say they start out with cold,
Right.
cold symptoms, and then the next thing you know, they're in the ICU of Sarasota Memorial.
Fast.
So very quickly, very quickly.
So-
And so again, you know, people just need to take it very seriously. And you know, I love the memes out there that, you know, you know, got polio. No, because we're vaccinated against it. Hello,
true.
it is true.
People have
It
lost
is.
sight about
They
a lot of
lo-
the
a
efforts that
lot.
we had in the past, but it was a different country in the past. Our
It was.
information, our news were coming from sources that people trusted.
It
Now
was.
the complete distrust, unfortunately, is science, you know,
A
and
total
and news
distrust of
sources.
science,
It's
distrust
crazy.
of news. And then again, I just don't understand the logic. I really don't. You see people dying, you see the numbers, you see your neighbors. And I'm sorry, even people on Facebook, like I said, whether you're red or blue, if you look at the posts, a lot of us have friends from both sides,
Yep.
every side, and you see all of a sudden they're not vaccinated. Now all of a sudden they're in ICU. Oh, pray for my friend. She's in ICU. Pray for my friend. He's in ICU. Well, again, where were you with the
And
vaccines?
you can't
Come
ask for
on,
the
wake
vaccine
up.
in the ICU,
See,
everybody.
it's too
It
late. Doesn't work.
that
It's
way.
too late.
So everybody step up, do
Step
your
up.
thing, stay safe. I'm going to Ohio today. And I think when I go to Ohio, they're going to look at me and say, well, go back to Florida or something, you know?
Well, they're
because-
going to be looking at us because we're like one of the worst states for COVID. So they're not going to be
Indeed,
looking at you.
and once
hugging
again,
you.
for our 60th green room,
Yeah,
what
thank
a
you
great
to-
green room.
well,
Thank you so
thank you
much
again,
to
Nikki,
Commissioner Fried for coming in.
Yes, Nikki Fried
And,
is
and,
always
and listen,
wonderful.
you'll see our guests as we go. We're going to make sure that we continue to stay on the leading edge of all these issues
All
as we
these
go.
issues.
Keeps us right
It does.
therapeutically. and we
Thank you,
love
everybody.
communicating
We'll
to
see you
all
next Thursday. Have a safe flight.
Stay safe and healthy.
Bye.